If the world could stand against, though I'm my only rival. I chose to force my growth to learn how to be able. Maybe a shaky past, today I'm called stable. I'm standing taller cause I found the right angles. You see my face is bright, I'm shining like a star. With ambitions for moon, I end up on Mars. From the gutter, I ain't supposed to be here. 2.0 came to partner now, and I can see clear, I'm here.
Hey, yo, this is Eppley, and I am here with Adulting 2.0 from Launch Ministry. Today, I have Amanda Peterson. Brr, 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 brr. How you doing, Amanda?
I'm doing good.
And we have our guest speaker, Isaiah Rambert. How's it going, Isaiah?
I'm good.
All right, so I already said their names, but I will have them share their pronouns because we do not assume.
My name is Amanda Flowers Peterson. Flowers is my middle name, not a hyphen. Don't get it confused. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And my current title at Launch Ministry is miles long, but I am the Chief of Staff, Diversity and Programs.
She said, I got a title, honey. I got a positions. You hear me? More than one. Over here wearing many hats. How about you, Isaiah?
Yes, so my name is Isaiah Rambert. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I am a career coach at a company called Bloom Tech, where we help those who are looking to transfer into a tech career gain the skills required to land their first high-paying tech role.
Awesome. So today, this is an employment course for those who didn't see the title in the YouTube or podcast. So we will be talking about
Throwing shade already. For those that didn't read.
And didn't read. This is employment. This is a job 101. So you so silly. Amanda will call me out on my foolishness. So, backstory for those who don't know, Amanda and I have been podcasting for the last, I want to say the last 4 years. It was 3 to 4 years of us being on and off and being very consistent with the last project. So we just have a natural flow of her seeing my foolishness and me just like, no. She just goes, no. So yeah.
Not okay. It's not okay.
So expect a little silliness. It's all good. So Isaiah, to kick off tonight, how did you start your career as a career coach? Give us that resume, Isaiah, that bio.
Sure. So my background is actually very non-traditional in my approach to my education and just my career overall. So just coming out of high school, I started at a program called Year Up, which is just a workforce development program targeted to inner city youth, ages like 18 to 25. And basically it's just a year-long workforce development where they're teaching you professional skills as well as hard skills in different, I would say, sectors of like industry, like HR, IT, things like that, for about a year. And that's actually where I met Neff. That's where we go way back, about 12 years ago.
We sure do. I came in hot. Isaiah and Isaiah didn't like me in the beginning. He was just like very like quiet when I would be around, and I was just this loud, booming personality, be like, "Hey," and Isaiah would be like, "Hello."
The first time I saw Neff in the hallway, he was throwing shade at somebody in the hallway on the way to the elevator. I was like, okay, so I'm not trying to get roasted anytime soon.
I used to roast back in the day. Listen, you got my glasses fogging up. I used to roast back in the day. You say you're a true teller, but back to your resume after your
right. So yeah, during the Europe program. During the program, I was actually placed in the HR track. So they gave me HR skills, and part of the program is that they will place you in an internship for 6 months at a local company for you to gain some experience in that track. So I was in the HR track. So I was an HR intern at a local like medical company in Providence, Rhode Island. And that's actually where I got my start a little bit in career coaching, because I was placed in the recruiting and hiring part of HR. So my job consisted a lot of just pre-screening, like drug screens, communicating that between the applicants and the recruiters, and then monitoring the job descriptions and things like that. And so from there is where I just went from there into applying to HR jobs and got picked up as like an HR coordinator type role at this at a larger company. And I was there for about 4 years before transitioning into another HR role, similar situation, supporting a recruiting team. And I got my break into career coaching because people around me at that point knew that I was working in HR. So they would ask me all the time, like, okay, look at my resume, or how do I prepare for this interview? Or how do I apply for a job? And like, give me the inside scoop, like give me the information. So I would just start doing that with people who knew me, people like my friends and family, things like that. And one person actually that I knew was starting a startup in Providence. And he was like, hey, we actually need a career coach. I know that you know about resumes and things like that. Can you come and help these guys like with their resumes and prepare for interviews as they transition into a new role? So he brought me on. I did that for about a year before doing a little bit of freelance career coaching until I ended up here at my current position at Bloom Tech, supporting a caseload of about 200 learners every day and just helping them navigate the job search into their first hired role.
So my second question was, but you gave a very detailed resume. Do you have any qualifications that you may have not have mentioned that have made you an expert in your field? Do you have that extra, I don't know, je ne sais quoi that you want to tell us about?
I would say, je ne sais quoi. I would say anything, the most I can say for as far as qualifications, I feel like is that I am someone who identifies heavily with the people I'm looking to support and serve. I'm not someone who is just simply spilling out advice that I haven't lived through. I am the non-traditional applicant. I'm the non-traditional job searcher. So a lot of the things and advice that I give, I have lived. And these same techniques and advice has helped me get multiple roles throughout my career and has sustained me up until this point. So I think that is such a big asset that I bring to the table at any company I join, is that I'm not just someone that talks the talk, but I've lived this and I'm still currently using this. I'll be using this for the rest of my career. So
that is wonderful. So dope. So my last question, because you got to gag the girls a little bit. You got to give them something to just talk about. What's your favorite success story in helping an applicant get their dream job / salary? Like, what is your favorite success story that you're just like, I did that? Well, you're going to do that, but you sure helped them along the way.
Mm-hmm. So this is actually in the beginning of my career when I first started career coaching, working at this nonprofit, back where like the friend that hired me onto his like nonprofit that he set up. There was a particular student there that was having a lot of trouble. He was actually really great. He had all the technical skills and all the things needed. He qualified for a lot of the roles, but he came across very arrogant in his interviews, is what I was being told as a feedback. And no one really wanted to like sit him down and work with him, because he was a little bit like, what do I need your help for? Like, I got this, like, I'm smart. I have all the degrees and skills and everything. And so
bold.
Very bold.
You have a degree and you know everything.
I'm like, I got bills to pay. Can you give me a job? Go ahead, Isaiah. Sorry, time to
No, it's cool. And so, yeah, the feedback that we got from some of the companies that we sent him to was like, hey, this guy is great, but, you know, he's arguing with me during the interview when I try to give him like some correction on some code he can do. And so I met with him, actually was very familiar with him, and I set up an appointment with him to meet. And I basically told him like, hey man, you are coming across a little arrogant in your interviews. I know, he expressed to me that he was very frustrated because he didn't understand why he's being passed up. Again, he had all the qualifications. He was a very strong performer as far as like the hard skills, but he was just turning people off in the interview. And he was at a point in his life in particular where he really needed a job because he had got laid off, and then he started paying a lot of his bills on credit cards. So he was like in crippling debt. So he needed like a high paying role. And this is in Boston where we are. So he was like paying his rent in Boston on credit card. A lot of his bills were on credit card. And so it was getting to the point where he was very stressed out about the situation. And I brought him, I was like, so I told him that we're going to meet one-to-one. I'm going to be the interviewer, and we're going to do a mock interview, and I'm going to interview you, and I'm going to call out the different things that you're saying, how you're coming across in this interview. And then I'm going to ask them to give you a second chance if I feel like you're ready. So we did that for like a week. We did a couple of sessions, and I would just tell him like, no, that was an arrogant response. And then it came to find out that he wasn't trying to come across arrogant. He just really, really wanted to show what he knew because he really, really wanted the job. So he felt like he needed to assert his knowledge in the interview, but it came across as arrogant. So I coached him on that a little bit. And I think the opportunity was Wayfair. It was the company called Wayfair in Boston. And I was able to convince them like, hey, can you give him a second chance just to come back in and see if he can like re-interview with you guys? And they did. They graciously allowed him to do it, and they hired him. They hired him after that interview. And again, this was life-changing work. Again, he was more so, I think he was like somewhat like a cashier at a grocery store before he decided to make the switch. So he's making six plus figures now. And he just, you know, it was just life-changing for him. And that's something I always go to. Like, that's the reason why I do this, because just that little switch, just that little, like going the extra mile, like, let's meet for a week and like, let's figure this out, made all the difference to him. Cause now he's like able to like completely cover himself. So that's like my go-to story that I'm really proud of.
I love that story. Me and Amanda were just like church mothers. No, baby, you gonna get this together. You gonna live. You gonna get that job. We get it. We get it. You so misunderstood, honey. Come in here. Let me hold you. Let me embrace you.
Po little tink tink. Po little tink tink.
Po little tink tink.
Yeah, that's powerful, Isaiah.
Seriously,
that was awesome.
I'm just so blown away. That's really, oh my God, that was really a successful story. Especially like you can just relate so much to that individual and what they were trying to do, and how sometimes you can come across different than when you mean to. Oh my gosh. Okay, segueing to you, Amanda. Okay, so Amanda is a leader, as you know, by all her dang on titles, honey. So I just wanted to know, let's just kick off with Amanda. How long have you been leading? Tell us, Amanda, share with us.
I have this really funny thing where I am an introvert. I'm an introverted leader. And so leadership has followed me my whole life, but it's been something I haven't chosen. And so, you know, as far back as I can remember, even in sports, I always became the captain. I always was, you know, helping the coach help get the girls together when in all of my sports. And then as I got into college, I was the one that was in the library getting my homework done. I was a triple major in college, so I had to be on my stuff. And so I was really never about that life. And so people that ran with me had to be willing to run. And so I always had this passive leadership that followed me everywhere I went, and I influenced people based on my dedication and diligence. But when I started getting paid to be a leader.
That part, come on. I don't know why I'm doing the church class in this podcast.
Get out of it. Okay, there are some people with some Christian trauma. Good God.
I know, and I'm just clapping at them. Go ahead, Amanda. Sorry.
I started in, what was it? So me and my partner got married in 2010, and I started my first paid leadership role in 2010, same year I got married. And so I did that role for 3 years, and then we relocated to California in 2013. And I ended up getting a leadership role in government there while pregnant with the baby. And they had no idea because it's got a long torso, so they hide up in there like lizards. And so,
so funny.
I got a role. I didn't tell them I was pregnant, and then I ended up getting a leadership role and then had to be off for 12 weeks. And so, yeah, I ended up, 2010 was like inception of me getting paid, not well, but paid to be a leader. And then from there, it's just been kind of glory to glory.
Amen. Amen. So Amanda, so when you're interviewing someone, what skill sets do you look for in an applicant?
So I really appreciated that you asked this question and that you gave it to me beforehand. I will tell the people that are listening and all that are here that we did get these questions beforehand because Neff is a wonderful planner. And when I was thinking, thank you. When I was thinking about it, I really appreciated having a few days to process it. And so there are quite a few things that I look for pretty quickly in my first impression of someone who is looking to work under my leadership. First and foremost, initiative. I need to see initiative. I need to see proof of initiative. I need to see that you're willing to take risk if it is for the greater good of the team. So I need to see a team player. And I need to see ambition in the sense that you believe that there is somewhere farther we all can go. And so I feel that there are easy signs to see those sorts of things in people. One being when they are explaining their work history, if they do not mention someone else in their journey, someone that contributed, someone that they contributed to, that usually is a huge indicator to me. And it's one of the things that I think people make a mistake a ton of times in an interview. I don't want to just hear about you. I want to hear about how you've been able to collaborate with the people that you've had the opportunity to work alongside of. And that's also very important in the field of work I'm doing, because we have to be a team because they pay you 2 pennies and a dollar. And we need to be tight on our budgets and what we're doing, and there can be no wasted minutes. And so I need to know that you love and thrive off of not only doing the greater good, but doing it with a team of people who are skilled. Lastly, I need to see some indicator that you take care of yourself, that you know how to advocate for yourself. I'm too busy, and I also am in a caretaking leadership role. So I do not have time for someone who works for me to take care of you. That doesn't mean I don't care about you, but I need you to have a level of independence to be able to say, like, yeah, I need to take time off, or I need to do this. I want to see that. And I want to hear boldness and indicators of that self-care as you tell me about your previous job experiences. I don't think it's taboo in an interview with me for you to tell me, like, hey, actually, I went through a really rough time. I tried to navigate that really hard time by taking some time off using my PTO. And I actually got reprimanded for that. And that helped me know that this last company didn't work for me. And so I started looking for other work. That's a great way to summarize that you had a difference of opinions. You're not bringing me into drama, but you're also letting me know you advocate for yourself and I can trust you to do so. And so, yeah, Jess, that's a great way to say it. Like, they carry themselves well. They carry themselves well, but it's not just that you showed up looking fine, okay, like good, together, snatched, all the words. Like that's wonderful, but that only shows me a very narrow picture of what you're going to be in the greater scheme of our work together. And you being able to put on a suit for an interview does not let me know that you carry and care for yourself. Okay. And so those are some of the things that when I got asked this question, I was like, yeah, that's really big. And I don't think I gave an example of initiative. Initiative to me would be if I ask you a question of, when did you have a task at work given to you that you had no idea how to accomplish? How did you go about that? I want to see in that narrative, I want to hear in that narrative signs that you went after stuff without needing to be told and handheld the whole step of the way. Creativity, things that you did to research, all of those things catch the eye of a leader like me. And anybody who's ever worked for me, they know that if they have those skills, they're able to keep up with me, because I do not pretend that I'm not a high capacity leader and that I often can do triple of what my team can do, which is why I do consider myself a leader who leads from a servant posture. And so I have a high capacity. So I'm not expecting you to do more than me, but I do expect you to be able to do for yourself. So I ain't got to worry about you. So I can get done what I want to get done. So there we go. Long-winded.
Awesome. It didn't freeze for me. Is anybody yet frozen from the video participants, from the speakers? I heard everybody crystal clear. Okay.
Oh no.
You
Sorry,
froze,
Jesse,
Amanda?
or you froze.
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't freeze.
Okay, you didn't freeze for me either.
And I was preaching, so
you was on the field.
Danny.
I was checking along with you. If everybody in the comment section, in the chat section, to make sure that you're still engaging, can you write show initiative in the chat? So if you're listening right now live, please write in the chat show initiative. Amanda, what is, okay, so Amanda, do you happen to have a success story in hiring someone that has exceeded your expectations? Like, I don't know. So, do you have someone in mind? Someone come to mind that has, gone above and beyond, created more than you could have imagined, done things, put it on the map.
His first name starts with an N.
Yeah, right. His last name does too. So yeah. Okay, so yes, and I did, again, I got given this question beforehand, and even though Neff is being borderline obnoxious, he was the example I was going to use. And I want to use him as an example because of the gorgeous feedback I've gotten from participants at this organization that I help run here at Launch, which is why you all are here, on how awesome Adulting 2.0 has been as a transitional position since he came in and took it over. And so here's the deal. So me and Neff go way back. We have some podcasting history because as a friend, a mentor, a sister, I believe that it's a gift of Neff's, and I really wanted to push him out into this space. And he said, "Will you help me?" And I love him and said yes. But prior to that, I had a spiritual leadership in Neff's life. And so I've always kind of played that role of giving him counsel. And so when I approached him with this, I came in a completely different way because professional Amanda, get work done Amanda, ain't Pastor Amanda. Just want to keep it 1,000.
Amanda told me she's Mama Bear in the workplace. She was just like, I'm Mama Bear in the workplace. I don't play about my participants. So as cool as we can be in all this history we got, I don't know you on a professional level. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, like, I know you like that. Come correct. Right, exactly, Isaiah. Come correct. And I was like, and there have been times, and I brought up, like, like things will happen and you'll like maybe fall off a little bit. And I just want to make it really 1,000. If my participants were ever to experience you falling off the face of the earth, and you not able to be found, or you not following through with what you said, I will find you and I will kill you. Okay, I ain't got no time. My people are my people. Okay, and for some of y'all that's roll with me for a minute, y'all know I don't play about y'all. I go neck and neck, and I will fight. Elbows ain't ever ashy because they always ready. Okay, we'll fight for you. Okay, hey, okay. Don't come to me, okay? And the other thing that people don't understand about me as a leader is your sis is educated. Now, I don't walk around wearing my degrees, but I got them. I've also written a lot of things, including textbooks, been a professor, been a director in high top 10 colleges. So come to me and try to act like I don't know what I'm talking about. Ooh. And we'll have a little conversation. So I'm playing with my people.
And that was not towards me for any listeners or any YouTube. Like that last line was not for me. That was a good old read though. I'll say that much. That was a read. You better read, Amanda. But I am definitely honored. No, I definitely am honored that you consider me as someone that has exceeded your expectation, as I humbly wanted you to mention me. But I really am honored for the opportunity. You're really an amazing boss, and I appreciate you. So now we're going to go into different discussions that we're going to cover in conversation style. So that was our interview spot. And if y'all have any questions, feel free to engage with us in these different topics. If you have a thought that comes to mind, please, we want to hear your thoughts and what you have to say. So the first thought is for the conversation is looking for a job. So y'all, where do you start? What are the qualifications that people should be looking for? Isaiah makes fun of me at times because as soon as I got my master's degree, I was just like, I feel like I could be the CEO of a company. I feel like I could work for NASA. I feel like I could go to the moon the next day. And a bitch only got to run for president. I mean, Trump did. Whoop.
Watch Trump gotta be Brian.
I didn't mean to get political, but like my whole point is just like if you go apply for a job, make sure you qualify. So let's just start off there, and also information about the company. So what are y'all thoughts when y'all looking for a job, or when you see folks looking for a job? What is your advice for the people? Please, Isaiah, and then Amanda.
Okay, so when I meet with someone for the first time, the first thing I always emphasize is before you start getting out there, applying and everything like that, you got to figure out who you are first. You got to know, you got to approach it with intention, because otherwise you're going to be spinning your wheels a lot. You're going to run into burnout. The job search is going to take a long time because you're not focused. So the first part is always, who are you and what is your goal here? When I say who are you, I'm talking career-wise. I'm a social media manager. I am an executive assistant. I am a project manager. Who are you? And let that sort of be the guide that breaks you into your job search. Obviously, yes, there's going to be moments where you are figuring things out. You may be transitioning, want to try something new. You got to figure all that out though first before you start applying and want to say, I'm going to launch myself into the job search. So I always say, and we can kind of go into that a little bit when we like start working on the resume and we do like the comparison. You have to know, what is your objective? What is your title? So when you are navigating throughout all the things that are out there, you can stay focused on what you have to do. Part of that too is knowing your story. Get ready to talk about your background, create a narrative. You know, when you see job applications, they are creating a narrative what their ideal candidate is like. When you are looking at jobs and companies online, they are creating a narrative and a story about what they want you to believe that they are, right? You have to do the same for yourself. Like, craft your narrative, your story, use any kind of thing in your background that is relevant to, you know, your desired job, and start from there before you start going out to apply. That way you can cut back on time to make sure you're not just like running out there willy-nilly and just sort of like floating in the lost space of job search, but you can take time to apply to focused and quality, make quality applications, and not just like applying willy-nilly, but just making sure like you're moving with intentionality in everything you do. So yes, that's a long way of saying like when you start, really have a solid foundation, a firm grasp on who you are and what you're doing, what your intention is before you even jump into the job search and start applying.
Well said, Isaiah, and I love the narrative piece. I think that's really key. That
yes.
I never thought of it that way. The companies are giving you a narrative of what the position's going to look like. It's up to you to give them a narrative in response. I love that. That was genius, and I think that was blog worthy, Isaiah. So think about it.
Yeah, I was going to say like, yeah, I'm very just like, we'll go into this more, but just like I like to keep it equal when it comes to applying. Like a lot of times we go into the job, so like I need a job and it's on me to prove myself. But I feel like it's just like it's like dating. You got to figure out if this is going to be the right fit for me as much as I'm going to be the right fit for you. But you have to know yourself to even get there. So know yourself first and know what your intention is first.
Yes, because you ain't gonna abuse me, honey. I ain't coming into this company for you to drag me through the mud and have me working on my feet and doing all this extra bullshit. You got me fucked up. You think I would be going through all this shit? And you think you're gonna be dragging me through the gutter? No, ma'am. No, ma'am. That ain't the job for me. It ain't a good fit. I'm sorry. I'm not meant to be a waiter. I might drop a plate and I'm not gonna deal with nobody's attitude over the meat not being properly cooked. Girl, no.
So
if you drop
If
you're dropping plates, please don't apply to be a waiter. Don't do that.
No, that's not the job for you. It's not the job for you.
But it's just like, but you just not gonna be getting mad at me because I'm clumsy. I know who I am. This ain't a good. It don't work out. Amanda, if you can answer the question in the chat and give us your take, I would highly appreciate it.
Yes, I'll answer it in the chat then. You gonna keep going? Is that what you want?
No. Give your take, and if you could read the question and answer it out loud for us, and like responding to the question.
Oh, the looking for a job?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I got confused when you said chat. I apologize. So yeah, for me, I think Isaiah covered it, most of it, but I do want to articulate that from the side of the employer that I have sat on for a long time, so it's hard for me to think of it differently. I get really frustrated when individuals expect in the first connection for me to have the job fully planned out and decided out before they feel comfortable to execute stepping into a relationship with us. They'll be like, so what is this? And what's this first day gonna look like? And it's like, there's a portion of the work that I do where I will never be able to answer that for you. I can never guesstimate what my people are going to need, what's going to happen, a law that's going to change, something that's going to need to be done. So you really need to navigate knowing who you are, building on what he's saying, and you need to also be able to have a level of trust, faith, hope, excitement about what you're going into. Because if you don't, it'll be seen by the employer. It'll be clear because you'll be super fearful and you will be putting on them too much of an expectation. And it'll be sure for them to pick someone else that doesn't.
That's a great point.
That is a very good point, Amanda. You better read. So the question in the chat, Amanda, is what if you know the job position you're applying for is the person you are capable of becoming and willing to become? So what are your thoughts? What are your response to that question that we received?
That's what you were trying to say.
Girl, you responded, so I was just like, girl, you're not trying to.
I know, but you caught me off guard. I didn't know what you was talking about. Okay, so the question from Jess, could you just have given it some context? It would have clicked for me. So anyway, so look, that has always been how I've gotten my jobs, Jess. But that is a great segue to what I just said. I have had to have a level of faith in myself to say, I might not contain all the qualifications that you say you need, but I will outwork anyone that you put beside me. So I will be your next best yes. Give me a chance, and I will not pretend I know stuff that I don't, but I will do the work to learn. That is how I've gotten every job. And if you're not ready to put in that kind of work, then it's one thing to like believe that you want a dream job or you have a job that you're capable of. But if you're not ready to put in the work behind that capability, then you're not actually capable. And so that is a decision you have to make internally, in my opinion. I guess I respect it. Oh, okay. Just said it was actually more directed towards our guest.
Well,
Oh,
I
yeah,
had,
no.
I had Amanda give that point, but Zay, if you want to respond to that, if you can give us your take on it.
Yeah, it's more so like just piggybacking off what Amanda just said. I feel like I'll add another part to it though. Is like um company when you see a job description, they are posting the most ideal version of what they could potentially find, right? But more often than no one is really going to match 100% of the qualifications unless you're overqualified. But I deal with this every day with a lot of people who are transitioning into a new career. We tell them if you at least match 7 out of 10, 6 out of 10, 8 out of 10 of what's listed there, apply for the job because they are again, it's an ideal. They're listening. It's their most ideal candidate. And I think you do have to, like, again, piggyback off what Amanda said, you have to step into it. Again, going back to knowing who you are, what you bring to the table, being confident enough to say, hey, I recognize I may not have all the years of experience, or I might not be as experienced in this particular skill set that you're looking for, but I know that I can learn it in a relatively short amount of time. I am a quick learner, and you got to be able to sort of advocate for yourself, and you got to be able to sort of like market yourself in that way. So if you saw a position and you know that's me, I can do that. I can do that all day long, even though I don't have A, B, and C. I know I can do this job. Be ready to talk about why, and promote your strengths. Promote your strengths and have reasons why. So like, even though you may have a few shortcomings, that's perfectly fine. I could be a great fit for this role. I am a great fit for this role because of these reasons. So it's just adding a little bit more to what Amanda said. Don't be deterred by just all the qualifications that you see on the job description, because companies, again, they're trying to cast a very wide net. They're going to list their most ideal candidate, but perfection doesn't exist. There's no perfect job and there's no perfect employee. So if you match most, apply.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That was really good. Now that we talked about looking for a job, the next step is really having a resume. Amanda, if you can engage in the chat so we can just keep the discussion going. The question that we received from Danny in the chat, can you write it out?
Yeah, I will respond to his answer. Yeah.
Thank you.
And you could keep going. Yeah.
So we're going to look at resumes. Resume is the next step because it's just like, it's really pivotal for you to have a resume and you to be able to have a good resume. And there's some things you just don't want to have it. So we have two resumes. One is from Sally and the other one's from Noelle. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to see what is the difference between the two resumes and go from there. So I'm excited to hear y'all thoughts. Give me 1 second. My screen sharing capabilities. All right, so this is the first one from Sally. If everybody can see my screen. And they're both applying to be a social media manager. So just to go through it for the podcast listener, at the top, Sally has a logo of a woman in cowboy boots and a thigh-high dress dancing. And she has her name in bold and her address. She has her phone number, a little logo for the computer, and her email is sallybabygirl with a U at email.com. That is her email, and her objective is awesome graduate of life, seeking any fun position requiring a cool girl with a great sense of humor and style. And her summary is that she's mostly free, except every day between 2 to 4 p.m. because that's her gym time. She's good at holding a conversation about anything and great at updating Facebook and anything I can post pictures on. So this is a clear cut of her resume. Isaiah, what is wrong with Miss Sally's resume? Or what's so great about her resume? What are your thoughts on Sally's resume?
So Sally's resume, okay, so you said start with what's great about it.
Well, let's do a little pros and cons. Let's encourage her a bit.
I can start. So pro is that she got everything onto one page. I think the more concise that you can get your resume, if you have a lot of experience and it's relevant and it spills onto multiple pages, there's only so much you can do. But for the most part, keeping it short and sweet is the way I like to advise. So yeah, the fact that it's all concise and it's all on one page, ready to go. She does have her contact info on there. So, you know, her name, her phone number where you can reach her at, her email address, which we can talk about when we get to the cons, is all on there. She does have an objective and does have a summary and listed her education and work experience. So she got all the general things on there, which is, I guess, good. But definitely can use some tweaking for sure. It can just use an overhaul, honestly.
So what are Sally's growth areas? I want to start off with SallyBabyGirl at email.com. You are applying for a job. Why are you putting baby girl next to your first name in an email? I need you to go to mail.google.com and create a new email with your first and last name or your name and some numbers.
So
go ahead, Isaiah.
that segues great into my first point. Depending on the job that she's applying for, I live in Vegas, so there's a job where Sally Baby Girl is a perfectly fine email that she can send in on their resume. For the most part, goodbye. Just to be honest, I'll let your imaginations. But I live in Vegas, and it's a very strong industry. People paying their bills with that. Anyways, I will say, first and foremost, I should be able to tell what kind of jobs you're applying for by the way your resume looks. The fact that I cannot see, there's no indication at all what kind of jobs that Sally is interested in, you know, but it's nowhere indicated on her resume. Usually I would advise having, again, going back to before you even start the job search, knowing what your intentions are. Is she a social media manager? That should be listed like Sally Sad, social media manager. Then go into her contact info. Yes, having a more professional, if she's doing social media manager, having a more professional email address. We always advise, I learned this back in Europe, honestly, actually, that having an email just for job search purposes that you can list on your resume is a good strategy to have. Her objective, again, I think overall she's just lacking focus. Awesome graduate of life seeking and any fun position requiring a cool girl with great sense of humor style. Like, that's not focused enough at all. We don't know what kind of job she's applying for. We don't really know the skills she's bringing. We don't know how she's framing or capturing her experience. She wants to say something on more lines of like, I am this, I bring this to the table, and this is what I'm seeking to achieve with this resume. That's what an objective should include. And then from there, listing skills that are relevant, education that is relevant, work experience that is relevant. But this is just a bunch of random information that doesn't really seem to have anything to do with each other than it's just formatted in objective summary, education, work experience, so on and so forth.
So I definitely want to take a quick moment and address something. I definitely agree with what was said in the comment section, and I know Amanda is addressing it as well. When Isaiah said different work in Vegas, I think that sex positive work is real work. So let's not get that twisted in any sense of the way. We are not bashing sex positivity work in any sort of way, nor are we bringing down Sally for that. The position that's being applied for in the example that I gave is a social media manager. So for a social media manager, do you want to have Sally Baby Girl at email.com to represent a company? Absolutely not. That is not going to get you the job. So that is my clarification with that. Amanda, do you want to engage with this particular resume of anything that you want to address in this particular resume of any pros and cons?
Can I just add really quick? Like that was my point, that, you know, I think my overall point in addressing that email address, like Sally Baby Girl could be something that's applicable to whatever industry that she is choosing to work in. But my overall point is that we just don't know based off of what we see here on the resume. That's all. But yeah, my 2 cents.
Yeah. So
go ahead, Amanda. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, I think I covered everything in the chat, so I was literally gonna wrap it up. Go ahead. You didn't need it.
All right, let's go to Noel's resume. Noel, so this is Noel's resume. It's very concise and clear. We see paragraphs, we see clear constructed sentences. She's going for a social media manager. You see her information, no logos. It's I think this is polished and really well done. However, like earlier when we were prepping for this, Isaiah and Amanda had some stuff to say, even regarding Noelle's resume. So go ahead.
Okay, so you want me to go first on this one?
Yeah, Amanda, go ahead.
Yeah.
I just want to talk about like there's not a lot of difference between Noelle's resume and Sally's. And the reason why is because if you look at the work experience between the two of them, it's pretty similar. Like for instance, a Young Living essential oils social media specialist, that's a self-employed individual who's posting about the oils they have to sell to someone. We have no idea. Like they articulate 820,000 in annual revenue, but there's no way that that's what they made. That they might be talking about the company's revenue, and that is absolutely okay to list that. But again, that doesn't give me a good snapshot of what they are able to do. And so we still are missing a lot of information, as well as besides that, and then having LlamaSoft, they really were just an intern prior to that. And there is nothing wrong with this work history. But if you look at their career objective at the top, they articulate that they have 9+ years of experience. And everybody has different perspectives on measuring what should be included under the umbrella of experience, but it usually is a pretty decent agreement that interning is a development learning phase, and that once you are out of that phase, you are in experience, you have experience. And so just remember that as that it's really just that Noelle did a little bit better in terms of laying out their information and maybe changed up things. And so it could go a long way, no matter what kind of work history you have. If you have a really good template and you really are keeping together some of the points we brought up of like having an email that's close to your name or your name, having your education and skills bullet pointed, and highlighting the things that you're really good at, and then having it organized in a really well-designed format really goes a long way, because Noelle is being considered good, but like I said, if you really put them side by side, they're very similar.
That part. Isaiah, what are your thoughts?
I agree. I think what I see too is also just Noelle seems to have a firm grasp on just her narrative and her story. So she's taking the time to really be very particular about how she's presenting herself. That shows up in the formatting of her resume, but also like Amanda said, she's choosing to highlight certain details that may be a little bit more embellishment than true fact, which I think maybe we all do to a certain degree. But I think that it just points to the fact that, take that extra step, add those extra details to your resume, craft your narrative, craft your story. It starts with your resume. That's the first thing you're going to see. Include that in your application. But yeah, it pays to pay that extra attention to detail for sure.
For sure. Thank you all for engaging us on that resume. It got a little spicy. And I think just having a little check-in in the room and everything to see if everybody's still engaging. If everybody can just provide like right in the chat that you're following along, literally right following along, so we can know that you're still with us. I'll be giving the secret phrase soon. I know we're going over with time with this recording, so I won't hold you up for too long. So emails are important. That's really the name of the game at the end of the day. I know it could be trigger worthy. I know people want to keep the emails that they had since they were in middle school or whatever the case may be. But when you're looking for a different job and different folks, they don't know you. So how you represent yourself by that first email contact and goes a very long way. So keeping it simple, your first name, period, last name, or hyphen, or whatever you want to do, or throw in like some, numbers or whatever. I think numbers are fine. Do you guys think the numbers are ridiculous? But I don't think numbers in an email, there's anything wrong with that. What are y'all's thoughts?
I agree. I don't think there's anything wrong with putting numbers in email.
Yeah, so people are asking regarding the girl dancing on Sally's resume, is that appropriate? What job field is Sally applying for? that determines if it's deemed work appropriate or not. But I see that Amanda is referencing that, and a lot of people, Amanda said, normally stay away from pictures.
I agree.
Actually, for DEI purposes, I've been hearing that a lot of folks have been adding pictures to resume, and just because they want, like, different company wants to look diverse, and that gives you like a leg up, I've been hearing. So what are y'all thoughts? Are you guys like ixnay on the pixie, or do you guys think that, like, if you're going for a particular company that's looking for like more diverse people, just have adding your picture give you a leg up, and also having, we can go into a professional, stock photo.
I agree with Angela. I think for the most part, staying away from adding any kind of like picture or like anything like that on a resume directly. Obviously, it does depend on the kind of industry, but usually, from what I've seen, things that require pictures like a portfolio or something like that, which is usually either linked on the resume or a separate document from the resume, like a portfolio. But then again, also too, like you can link your LinkedIn on your resume as well. But the actual document, my general advice is to just stay away from pictures.
What about you, Amanda? What are your thoughts on the picture conversation?
I feel a certain sort of way that an organization would want you to have your picture because they're trying to be more diverse. I think for me, in that purpose of trying to interview a company, I love to see, my name is not ethnic at all. It's Amanda Peterson. And so people are usually thrown off when they meet a girl with locks down to the middle of her back, and are like, "You're Amanda Peterson? I'm Amanda Peterson." There's that back and forth. And that uncomfortable feeling actually is a good first layer of me knowing whether or not that company is a fit for me. So I wouldn't put my picture, even if that was something that could give me a leg up. The second piece is in the sense that I really just feel like marketing, social media management, a picture might be kind of edgy and fun and modern, but the roles that I go into, I just know the field, they would be turned off. They wouldn't want to see. They wouldn't want to see you. They would want you to take up more space telling them who you are.
Exactly.
So since we have reached our hour, and I only told you that I was going to hold you all for an hour, but we're going to continue with the podcast and the recording. Today's secret phrase for this particular one is Sally's logo. I feel like it was a bit controversial, and I shook the table a little bit with Sally's logo. So Sally's logo is the secret phrase for this recording, and we are going to continue on to finish this recording. All right, you're more than welcome to continue on with us. If you only made time for an hour, I understand if you log out. So continuing on, for those of us that are still here, getting the job but having to negotiate your pay. Let's just go to that one. So Amanda, like, you have an awesome story regarding this.
Which one was it that you said?
Sorry,
I was reading the chat.
We're gonna go to number 4, getting the job but having to negotiate your salary, and then also getting rejected. So you had a story that had a good 250 a part of it.
So thank you for context. ADHD. Okay, so I just want to give y'all a little bit of my testimony in terms of what got me to this leadership position. Prior to working here, I owned my own company in California. We were doing really well. I had a lot of contracts with government and faith-based organizations, colleges, and I thought I had found my thing. And then we moved back to Minnesota with lots of thought and consideration. And when we moved back, I knew I have a solid resume. I have a solid education background, but I was not able to get a job right away. And so I ended up having, for almost a full year, to make finding a job my full-time job. And so I was applying to near or at least 10 jobs a day. I was doing 40 hours a week. I would go to the library. I would do whatever I needed to do. I did this while we were homeless. I had 2 babies at the time. My partner and me had made a decision that they would stay home because I had always been the breadwinner. Remember, I had my own company. So we had thought when we transitioned to Minnesota, it would be the same thing. And they were going to stay home with my babies and we were going to homeschool the first year. But everything went awry. I applied to 250 jobs before I got Launch Ministry. And I was at like 180 when Corey started pursuing me. I denied this opportunity 8 times. He pursued me. I denied it. He pursued me again. I denied it. He pursued me again. You get the point. I didn't think I wanted to be a nonprofit anymore. I had been an entrepreneur for so long that I had crossed over what I thought had crossed over into the business realm. And you don't make no money in a nonprofit. And I had an amount in my head I wanted to make, and I knew that nonprofit couldn't provide it for me. And I wanted to make similar or not very much different from what I was making in California so that my partner could stay home with our kids. Unfortunately, after applying for 250 jobs, I could not do that. I did end up accepting this job and I accepted a pay cut and my partner found a job. And that actually ended up being the best thing we could have done. My partner loved working and we made it work and our babies are now in school, so it's not a big deal. But and I ended up in this work, which I absolutely adore, but it was one of those things where I needed to negotiate a lot. And me and Corey, who's the executive director of this organization, had a lot of history and we just could not see eye to eye on what I deserved for pay. And so I definitely didn't come in arrogant, even though we have that history. I definitely did my research on what someone with the title that I was on-ramping as gets. I asked for, I think initially 30% over the median of what I was able to find. And him and I worked into a middle ground of that ask. And I would suggest that you do your research on what people make in the jobs that you're trying to go for, that you consider that, because you can turn off an employer by asking for too much money. And it just shows that you don't have familiarity with the field, or you can really shoot yourself in the foot if you ask for too little money and they're like, yes, we snagged you, and they basically use you for your skills because they give you what you want. So those are my answers to that.
That was really key on like applying to 250 job and dealing with rejection, and also steps on how to negotiate when it comes to salary. Isaiah, let's first tackle negotiating when it comes to salary. Amanda gave a really lot of key pieces. What do you want to add?
Yes, so definitely agreeing with doing your research, knowing what the pay is for the position that you are applying for. In the area that you are living in, it's going to be different. Let's say if you're in California versus Kansas City. So know like the pay range for the type of position and where you'll be working. As far as negotiating, I think a lot of times people like picture negotiating as like this hardball conversation that has to happen. And it definitely can sometimes go that route. For the most part, I like to keep it positive. You know, you simply are just inquiring to see what is available. I always say though, definitely do negotiate. You know, if you can, never leave money on the table. If you are negotiating, try to get it all written in writing, so over email. Unless you have like a familiar relationship with the person or you feel comfortable, I generally advise not doing it over the phone or in person, because you want to take time to think and research before continuing to go back and forth. Other tips, I would also say just have a number in mind that you absolutely can't go below. Like, I just can't accept less than this amount, and then always negotiate for at least 5,000 more than that. So if it's 60,000, you just can't go below. Do 65 and let that be like your pretend number, but your real number is 60. That's always worked for me in the past. And then I think if you are at the point where you are getting an offer, it is very rare that negotiating will have the offer withdrawn. it's usually that you guys can't come to an agreement and you're deciding that you're going to move on to another opportunity that better fits your pay expectations. But don't, hesitate to negotiate or sell yourself short just because you're scared that the opportunity altogether is going to go away. Negotiating is very common.
Yes.
It's a very common part of the process. Companies should be expecting it. So definitely I think it's more so about how you go about doing it than actually doing it itself. You should always try to negotiate.
That's really good. And I think another piece that I want to add before we move on to the next part about workplace environments, getting rejected, it sucks. It's a part of the job search experience. Like, not everyone is going to hire you because you put in your application. That is not a realistic narrative at all. If anyone ever had a thought about that, it's like you're gonna hear a lot of no's before you get that yes. It's just the rules of the game, and it is what it is. You just have to, I don't know how you deal with rejection on your personal life. You have to have that same level, keep yourself inspired, encourage yourself, and keep at it and keep that rhythm. Because like Amanda was sharing, it's just like for her story, she had a family, she had things that were motivating her to have that grind to apply it after job after job after job and negotiate and fight and fight in a way, I use that term, in a professional manner to come to a good understanding that was a good fit for her, that she could say yes. So you have to put yourself in a position where you can say yes, and it takes a little bit of time. So that's just the reality of the matter. Does anybody have anything else to add before we move on to the next one? All right.
I just wanted to say you can't, no, go ahead.
Go ahead.
You go first.
I was just going to say, that it's just basically a part of rejection. Is just a part of the process. But it's something that you can walk away from, always getting better at, meaning ask for feedback if you get rejected. You could say what was it? Is there something that I did or said? Sometimes it is a little bit out of your control, and that's fine. Like Neff said, a large part of it is a numbers game. So sometimes you're just trying to get to that one yes, and you might have to get 200 no's before you get to that one yes, but all you need is that one yes. But just have that growth mindset that with each rejection is a learning opportunity and a redirection for you to kind of use to show okay, this wasn't the right place for me. Let me find the right place that is available.
Cool. Go ahead, Amanda.
I was going to basically say the same thing, that don't give up. And remember that for as many people as there are in the world, there are jobs, and you will find something. And don't be too presumptuous to not do something in the interim to pay your bills and hold you over, and keep applying on the side. Because remember, applying for a job can also be a job. And you might not have the availability to do it like I did, because I had a savings to do it while not having to work another job. But don't feel ashamed if you have to. Find a job that you can easily get, so you're not super stressed, and keep applying to those other jobs so that you can get to the place you need to go. Don't give up.
Thank you. So let's say in this scenario, you got hired, you already started, you already had your onboarding process, and you're in the company. Do's and don'ts being in the workplace environment. How should we adjust to the company environment? How do we rise above? Every workplace has drama, gossip, what happened, what didn't happen, who left, who didn't left. It exists in every company. It just is what it is. If the company has history, there's some gossip or drama around there. And learn how to do your job. Because a lot of times I find it, that folks are so caught up on the T of the company that they don't want to learn how to actually do their job so they can keep their job. Just said Sally.
Sally.
Sally, poor
That
Sally,
was such a great. That was
good. Just Sally. Just, you're hilarious.
Yes, that was great.
So what are you, Amanda, kick us off with workplace environment do's and don'ts, and then Isaiah, follow up after Amanda, please.
Do's and don'ts. So culture, environmental culture is a big part of my expertise in the DEI field. And one of the biggest pieces that I always make sure people understand is how much making sure you know the position and the influence that each individual has in the environment. And so that also plays a part in, if every person understands their influence in the environment, then they know their words carry weight. Then they know they can't just say anything they want to say. Then they know they can't just do anything they want to do. People that do that don't understand how influential they are. And so it's a part of the organization's responsibility for climate purposes to make sure they understand that. Like, you are carrying, you're representing us in this way. You are carrying this responsibility for this reason. This is where you are and where the community, our people we serve, see you as. If that is not understood, you will get people who are basically bored and think that just the top 3 people in the industry, organization, company are the only people who carry influence. And that could not be the farthest from the truth. It doesn't matter if it's a multi-billion-dollar company. It doesn't matter if it's a nonprofit that's small like Launch Ministry. It absolutely matters that people know what influence they carry.
That part. Go ahead, Isaiah.
I will definitely speak to the point of learn how to do your job. Really, like, I think sometimes when you go into a position, you're already thinking about the next thing, like, I want that promotion, things like that, without really taking time to become excellent or a master at your current level. And one thing that's really sort of helped me when I'm starting to feel anxious about my work situation is I have to remind myself, like, okay, promotion comes when you are excellent at your current level. So instead of just,
that's a line.
So instead of just getting so caught up in like, okay, I need to get that promotion, and you know, that can lead to so many different things like competition and things like that. Really focus on your job. What is it that you do, and then how can you be excellent at that? And then the promotion will naturally and organically come. You won't have to fight for it because you are exceeding already so much at your current job. So that's one of my dues for sure.
Ooh, y'all said that. Listen, y'all help somebody. Now that you have been in the environment for a while, listen, a lot of times stress happens working these jobs, working day in, day out. Honestly, you have PTO, you have sick time, and you also have to take care of your mental health. Amanda's going to share with us something, how this is really close to her, and we're just going to engage with her on the reason why, like, it's important to take care of yourself and your mental health, because burnout is real, and you're no good to nobody when you're running on fumes. So go ahead, Amanda.
So just back in the middle of September, early October, I took a 3-week leave specifically for mental health. I had gotten to the place where I was noticing in my work behaviors that the smallest incident of concern or frustration was having me respond at a 15 out of 10. I just gave way too much energy to things that were not typical to cause that much energy for me in the past. And so, number one, when you are noticing that, that's when you should use your PTO. That's when you should use your sick days. If you're noticing you're just not operating out of your normal behaviors, that should be a good indicator. You don't owe anybody any excuses. You don't need to have a doctor's note. That is what that is there for. It is there for you to take care of yourself. At least in my organization, our PTO is a no ask PTO. Like, you just need to make sure that we are aware and follow our process so that you can take the time off. But you can take time off for whatever reason. The second piece is how I got to that space was because I had been running, like I can and I do, because I'm a high capacity person. But remember, I'm an introvert. And I had been dealing with a lot of staff drama, like more than I should have. And on top of that, I had forgotten the positionality I have in the organization. I'm leading. I'm making all the decisions on who works for me. So I could have gotten rid of the drama. But I had been so busy getting my tasks done and just lying to myself that that drama would figure itself out, that I kept cutting corners in my own personal health in that way. And as an introvert, when your energy gets drained, you have to take time to refuel alone. And I was not allowing that to be it, because there will always be a new participant who needed something. There'll always be a new fire to put out. There'll always be a new situation that justified me not taking care of myself. So when I got to the middle of September, I was almost at daily therapy appointments with my therapist. I had asked if I could increase to daily, and my therapist said, no, absolutely not doing it. You need to take time off. I will not continue being your therapist until you take time off. And so I got to the place where I had to be forced to take time off. Now, I've had one vacation, and it was this year, in my whole history of working at Launch. And while on vacation, I never turn off my email. So I've really never had a vacation, not one where I am away and taking care of myself. And that being the case, I didn't know what to do. I had 160 hours of PTO. I could take off over a month and still would get my regular paycheck. And I had written all of our policies, so no one had to approve me. So answer me this, Batman, why did I never take time off? Because I got into a toxic cycle of not seeing the fact that I needed to take care of myself. And so what we want to tell you is, you absolutely need to pay bills. You absolutely should take responsibility for your responsibilities. But if you do not take care of yourself while doing so, you will get back into that really toxic cycle of not having a job, because you'll lose it, because maybe you'll get to a place where you're not on your A game. If I was in a position where I wasn't running the organization, I could have very well been fired for some of the behaviors I was operating out of, being this high up about some of the littlest things. Could you imagine if my supervisor asked me to do something and I was like, what? Why I gotta do it? And like freaking out. That could have gotten me written up. That could have gotten me considered being insubordinate, and I could have lost that job. So my positionality really saved me, and it was a privilege in this. And I am trying to speak to each of you so that you know that you need to understand what your position is in wherever you work, and you need to take care of yourself relevant to that context. And don't let it get so bad where you are like me. I am the what you should not do, where your therapist has to tell you that you need to go into intensive treatment so that you can get your triggers and everything reduced, and you can refuel so that you can keep doing the work that you love.
Thank you for sharing, Amanda. That was really powerful.
Absolutely.
And I think for Isaiah and I, we can add a conversation on, let's talk about managing stress. Isaiah does this awesome thing. Isaiah and I were close friends. So a lot of folks that I bring on the podcast and recording, I'm really close friends with and really cool with. So I know Isaiah does this thing where he does staycations. So instead of like going on vacation, he honestly takes some PTO, staycation, and tell us the rhyme and reason why you do it, Isaiah.
Oh man, it's so key. That's something that I was very actually intentionally like doing this year, was the staycations, because I was someone similar to Amanda. I would just go. I came through Year Up, which was a boot camp, which is like just go. My first 5 or 6 years in the workforce is just like, I'm gonna overcompensate for me not like having the more traditional background. So I'm gonna be showing up, and I'm gonna be going 110% every single day, which only worked up to a certain amount, because what would end up happening would be I would run smack dab into a wall at some point, run smack dab into burnout, would start showing up late, start calling out, start catching attitude with people. And so I recognized, I was like, okay, I need to self-manage better. And, it speaks to a lot about what Amanda talked about when she's looking for someone who she wants to bring onto her team. And you said you want someone like who can already be like taking care of their self-management. It's very much the same thing. you know, like you have a responsibility to take care of yourself and make sure, like, because you know your manager is not going to do it for you, your company's not going to do it for you. They're going to take all that you give. You know, it's really you have to take your own onus of just your mental health and your well-being. So I used to do these staycations this year where I was just like, I'm gonna just I'm gonna take 3 days and just do nothing. Wake up, have nothing on my schedule. Wake up, I have nothing to do. And I would talk to Nephew. He was like, "So where you going? What you doing for your vacation?" I'm like, "I woke up, I had nothing to do. I turned on the TV, had nothing to do. I ate some food, went to sleep, and repeated the next day." And I just take those every now and again because I am an introvert as well. So you know, I'm seeing people 7, 8 times a day, every day for like weeks on end. So I get drained by the end of the day. So I need to take those like mental health breaks because if I don't, that's when I start snapping at people in the middle of a session. That's when I start sending nasty emails or catching an attitude or showing them late or not caring. So I need to know, like, anytime I start getting like little just nasty, anytime I start getting a little nasty, that's like my indication, like, okay, Zay, like you need to take a couple of days and just chill. Because it's so important. And another on the flip side of that, getting used to being human and not having to show up at 110% every single day. Some days I show up and all I got is 20%. And it's the best 20% I can give. And I just have to be okay with that because I know there's going to be days I'm going to give 100. There's going to be days I give 110. There's going to be days I give 80, 60. It's all about creating that balance. You know, I think for me personally, when I run into those mental health breaks or when I run into those burnouts is when there's been just a very severe imbalance in my schedule and a very severe imbalance in my output. And so I am working on maintaining a weekly balance of just how much energy I give into any task or thing. And at the same time, being able to say, yeah, I'm going to take a couple of days just to do nothing.
So that's so key. And I think it's very important. Amanda said a really key part. Having a therapist is like, as you manage through life, as you go through things, if you could take one thing about this podcast, get a therapist. Get a therapist. Because honestly.
And one that will advocate for you.
That part, someone who cares about you. Because I've had therapists that are just like, oh, wow, that sucks. I think one time I had a therapist that stopped me from crying one time. They were just like, can you stop? And I was like, are you telling me not to cry during a therapy session? So getting a good therapist goes a really long way. Trust and believe that. I know time is running, but I definitely want to hit these last two parts. I think y'all both. Okay, so we'll have the next topic is DEI and HR. So we're going to have Amanda hit us with the DEI. How does it actually work? What does DEI do for a different workplace environment? And we'll have Isaiah explain the true purpose of HR because there's an illusion where you think HR got your back and they're like a union and they're going to speak up for you. HR has the best interest of the company, beloved. HR, it's a double-edged sword. HR ain't going after you. They ain't gonna cuss out the CEO for you. So that's not how HR works.
They get that paycheck for them. So
exactly, they're biased. So go ahead, Amanda, with the DEI.
So DEI has had a wide landscape as of currently. And so when anybody says it, it can mean a whole gamut of things. But what I say it when I'm talking about our organization, I mean that every policy and practice is considering individuals of all walks of life, all experiences, and all even the disabled community in my decision making. I am trying to ensure that it's easily on ramped, that they feel like they belong, and that is the biggest piece in our cultural work. That also includes, of course, you might have heard trainings. People will get trainings on things. That also includes having language diversity, so having things in multiple languages and making sure sign language is available, making sure that anybody that engages your organization and even any staff member would not feel like they're othered just because of their identity. And so that is kind of like the core of what DEI is supposed to be. How it practically works out is, as a DEI head, I am bringing in and I am looking through and I am, analyzing every detail of our day-to-day operations. If those operations come up with excluding someone, creating an unfair environment for someone, I am coming up with a different way and a different approach. And some of you might have experienced that. If you've been with us while we were in the pandemic, I came up with ways of, for those of you who don't have transportation, virtual gift cards was an access decision. That's a DEI initiative that I had implemented. So you being able to get virtual gift cards or you being able to get e-gift cards was because previously our organization only provided physical gift cards and you had to come in. And for those of you that were with us before the pandemic, you know that if you didn't come in, you didn't get a gift card. That had to change because of the pandemic. So those sorts of things, it is endless and people don't realize that those decisions are included, but they are.
Oh, that was really great. Girl, if there was ever a soundbite, that was one. And can you break down what is DEI for listeners that may not know the terminology?
So diversity, equity, inclusion, access, justice, and belonging is, you might hear any kind of collaboration of that, but you usually hear DEI, DEIA, or DEIJ, or DEIJB, I guess. And so all of which have different trainings associated with them. And all of them have a little bit of a different agenda, but same core that I've explained to you.
Girl, I never knew about the AJ, so thank you for educating me. Like, girl.
And did I even say so? A is access, J is justice, yeah, and B is belonging. Yeah, I did say it.
I know about B belonging, but AJ, you introduced me to AJ. Thank you for doing that. Isaiah, hit us with HR. Let us know what the true purpose of HR and how does HR work in our favor.
Yeah, so HR, I guess, in the most basic terms, is the department that is responsible for managing the company's most important asset, which is its employees. So the people, the human beings that make the company run, it's their job to ensure that everything, that they add structure for the organization, everything's running smoothly to keep it, the company running on a daily basis. So they usually are handling the recruiting, the hiring, onboarding, training, and firing, and administering of employee benefits and things like that. There is a little bit of a misconstrued belief that HR are your advocates and they're there to advocate for you, for the company, things like that. That is not the case. That's why a lot of times with a lot of certain circumstances that are groups within, there's employee groups within companies for certain employee types. But yeah, the true purpose of HR is to, help manage the employees to serve for the organization and to keep that running smoothly, not to necessarily advocate for the employees themselves. And that is more so on the employee to organize and do for themselves. Just to not, because I know that's what you were talking about, Neff, you wanted to clear that part up as far as HR, which is why, for me, a big part of why I transitioned out of recruiting was because I realized I could definitely help companies find the right people for the job, but I'd rather champion the underdog and help people find the right company, so it's the same coin, but just different sides.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think that was really clear and concise, and you definitely made that very clear. And just to end with this last topic, and just very important, resigning. So you work the job. We talked about interviewing, but we were talking about looking for a job, the resume, interviewing, negotiating, workplace environment, taking time off, the roles of DEI and HR. Now it's time to resign. It's time to go. Ain't nothing worse than just chucking up the juices and quitting and just leaving with a box without a cake. You can either leave with a box or you can leave with a cake. Listen, people, I've left with a couple of cakes and I left with boxes as well. I've been escorted out only once. I've only been escorted out once, and I was like, So there's ways that you can.
Ooh. You did not tell me this in your interview.
Well, why would I? It's my narrative. I'm not gonna give that narrative.
That's why you better control that narrative now.
What's like telling like, oh, they escorted me out. The fuck? I will tell the story another time. But like, no, but seriously, it's really rude if you worked for a company and you were there that you cannot have the common decency and just put in your 2 weeks and work the 2 weeks. It's like you want to have these folks to be able to be called up, give a recommendation. You never know where life is going to bring you if you're ever going to need to apply for that job again. Better get 2 weeks. Let these people celebrate you on your way out. Like, you know what I'm saying? What do y'all thought? Am I crazy on this? Maybe a little bit crazy with the escort, but
I validate you. I do want to speak to the side that there are times that a space is so toxic that you're not able to provide that. But remember, if you're taking care of yourself, it shouldn't get to the place where you need to abruptly quit. If you do get to that, take it as a learning experience and don't make it a habit. Don't make it a habit that you're just leaving a job without a 2-week notice. And you should be able to see the signs that a space is toxic for you and be looking for another job and be actively trying to prepare so that you can provide that 2-week notice. But again, I understand that sometimes spaces are very, very toxic and you just need to get the heck out of there.
What do you think?
The same, I think there are times like where, like for example, like I had to leave opportunities, not necessarily on the spur, but it was 2 very different reactions. I gave my 2-week notice, and the first one of the opportunities that I left with the cake, and the second, everyone got an attitude that I was leaving, and it was like, you should have saw this coming because first of all, it was a very toxic environment. That's another story for another time. But I did remember like, okay, even though I'm probably never going to return to any of these companies ever again, even if like my reputation is important. I take it seriously, and I have a certain standard I like to uphold and way I like to present myself. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna, even though I've seen this company fire people on the spot, didn't give them 2 weeks ahead of time. I've seen them sort of just drop people very randomly and be very toxic in their separation. But it's not about them. It's about me and what I can look back and so any of my new jobs that I have in the future, they can call any of my previous employment and they have nothing but great things to say about me because of the way I handled my exit in particular. So I think it's not something that you necessarily get the reward of and like instantly. It's something that may pay off in the long term. So you just gotta like have that in mind when you're thinking like, okay, right now I don't really care what these people think about me. I'm just gonna leave. But it may be a different situation 5 years from now, and you might need that recommendation. So just keep that in mind. You don't want to burn any bridges.
Because they're not in work that you constantly calling your friends to pretend to be your old manager because you can't put your actual manager's phone number down. And they always got to pretend to be like, oh, yeah, they were such a good employee.
Why are you trying to tell the people how to do fraud?
I'm going to help somebody. I'm going to help somebody that they keep calling their cousin Pookie and their best friend. Be like, yo, can you be this person? Can you be my supervisor for this job again? No. Learn how to leave accordingly and stop calling folks. So, yeah. So that was our recording. Let's do what final words versus on that note. Amanda, Isaiah, if you can give final words, final last bit of advice for this employment course, we would greatly appreciate it. So Amanda, what are your final thoughts?
I just want you to know that for me and my positionality in your lives, I want you to be really excellent in self-management and taking care of yourself. And that when you do decide to go after a job, I want you to feel so good and to know that we are celebrating you and that we're here to support you as you navigate that journey and to coach you along so that you can get where you want to go.
So good. What about you, Isaiah? What's your final thought?
My final thought would be that, yes, employment and job searching, everything is a journey. And it's never ending. You're constantly going to be something new, something to learn, on to the next thing. Don't let it stress you out too much. Take it seriously, but don't take it too seriously. If you can, I like to view it as a game that I take very seriously. So like, these things are fun for me, learning how to job search, learning when's the right time to resign, learning that I have to take time off for mental health. These things are fun, but it's my career, it's my employment, but it's not my entire life. It's just a part of my life.
Awesome. Thank you both so much for being part of this panel today. I appreciate y'all. So this was Adulting 2.0 through Launch Ministry. Y'all have a good day now. Bye, everybody.
Bye.